with us all being isolated. And this isolation is going on longer than any of us wanted it to. I think we have the risk of our young people becoming not only physically isolated, but feeling more socially isolated as well. And the entire planet is experiencing COVID. So for them to experience being in that same space, to be able to talk with one another exactly about what is your experience, how are you living this? I had my students write a little reflection when they're done, and I will have to send some to you. They were very, very excited about it, and they loved the perspective that they got.
We have had a partnership between Augustana University and Nord University for almost 20 years, where it has been a physical exchange of students back and forth. And Håkon was actually one of the students that came to our university for a full semester of studies. And so I think with COVID-19 happening, that we couldn't do this exchange, obviously, because of all the travel restrictions and pandemic quarantines. So this was kind of our answer to what do we do to keep the relationship going.
This is not, we cannot do this in the future, that this will be the standard of exchange programs. Mm. But it's a substitute in the difficult times we're experiencing now under the COVID.
It was really a gift to have our students meet one another, and they answered our questions and did our assignment, but we purposely gave them enough time to, you know, visit with one another a little bit.
We talked about the welfare state of the healthcare system, and then about COVID and the difference and similarities to work as a nurse in the two countries most of the time.
Well, one of the things that we presented to them in the information at the beginning of our time together was a little information about the healthcare systems in the two countries, what it looks like in Norway, and that access is very good for people in Norway to healthcare, and that the cost out of pocket is very low. And then we talked about how it's very different in the United States. Healthcare is very expensive here, and people pay a lot of money for their healthcare, which limits a lot of people and how much healthcare they get. So in the reflections that I got back from students, it seemed like that was our students in the United States did not seem to have a really good grasp of how expensive our healthcare was in comparison to other countries. And one comment that was made over and over and over again in their reflections was, we need to learn from the rest of the world how they're doing this better than we are. And I love the fact that there's some eye-opening for students to say, this is how we learn from one another and why it's important to learn from one another.
And then they had the social discussion. Well, is nursing school hard, you know, and is it difficult? And they both had conversations like that about, yes, it's hard here, and sometimes it's expensive, you know. And so they talked about the cost of having an apartment and living expenses and going to nursing school, and that's exactly what we wanted, you know.
All of my students, all 85, wrote in their reflection, please, can we do it again? Mm-hmm.
I think for me, because I'm an older faculty member, technology is very intimidating to me.
There was quite a bit of planning that went on. Well, maybe one of the blessings that has come from this pandemic is Zoom. We now have the technology and the access point that people are fairly comfortable with, being able to do this kind of a thing together. And we have the capabilities now of doing it. So it just made it a little bit easier to say we can do this on Zoom and get our students involved. And the nice thing now is we can include basically as many people as we want to.
When the students fell out of a group, someone help them in the group immediately without us having to look after that. And so we had a lot of help.
The technology team from Augustana has done some of these bigger meetings. And so when we approached them about helping us to do this, they were very enthusiastic.
So whole classes could experience this, not only the chosen few that could go abroad. So we hit a larger population with doing it on Zoom or on Teams. So more person could experience it.
This won't replace exchange. I think it will encourage exchange, but I love the fact that for those students who won't be able to do that, or even the ones who do, to have more conversation. And boy, there's nothing better than building relationship. And maybe there won't be deep friendships, but I heard a couple people saying, I forgot to get Astrid's email or somebody's email that they wanted to get a hold of again because they wanted to continue the conversations. So I think we just, as you said, it's the tip of the iceberg. I think we've got the start of something that we really have good capacity to build on.
Her students have the opportunity to travel next year. So this opportunity motivated them to think about, well, maybe I travel to Norway.
And I think it's important to give credits to the students that was participating, that was went into with open-minded and talked to each other and shared the stories and shared their values and understanding and really was discussing.
And I think also it's important that we can't go there, we can't meet, but at least we can do this. We can do something, and to do something is better than doing nothing.
Of course, we can meet together in different countries. Why not? So I don't think that universities are known for their creativity, but this time, I think we hit the nail.
Please share with your students that our students loved talking with them, and they really were so amazed at how good their English was. They were not anticipating that the communication would be as easy as it was.
Right.
And they really enjoyed it.